As you can see, working as a UX designer is highly collaborative. You're going to be working with different team members of all different kinds depending on the project you're working on. So, I wanted to take advantage of OpenClassrooms, invite 2 other teachers here to show you how they have experience working with UX designers. Working as a UX designer is not a solitary job. It's very collaborative. You don't live in a bubble, you're working with team members of all different kinds. I wanted to take advantage of being here at OpenClassrooms so we could meet Olga, who teaches the iOS development path, and Patrick, who teaches the product management path, so you can see how UX designers work with both of these kinds of teams. So, Patrick, can you tell us a little bit about what a product manager does?
Sure. A product manager is someone who works as part of the tech team to help define a product vision and to help work with the tech team to build the features and make the decisions that builds a product that fulfills that vision. So it's somebody who sets the objective, the business objective and the scope of the product for the tech team and works to take all of the requests from the organization, finance, sales, marketing, legal, all those requests, and help input those into the product as it matures.
And just to clarify, when you say product, what exactly do you mean?
So product management really uses product in the context of digital products like apps, software, websites, and that kind of thing.
Okay. So you're working often with the tech team, so that would be you, right, Olga?
Yes, exactly. So our role is ultimately to bring the designs to life. And that consists of making the right technical decisions and ultimately coding.
And so you specifically work on a lot of iPhone apps. So are you getting sketches or like low fidelity designs, or how are you receiving information?
It depends. So if the design is ready at a certain point, I could receive sketches, like the views, the screens individually, or it could be an interactive prototype at the moment, depending on the stage that we are in development of the product.
Great. And then how do you like to communicate with UX designers, and what's really important to keep in mind?
Well, in-person communication is very important. However, most of the things are communicated through digital means, whether it's as simple as an email communication or tools like Asana or for design, InVision, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And Patrick, what tools do you find you're using, and how are you talking to teams? Is it in person, over the computer, Slack? What are you using?
Yeah, I mean, my preference for communication is in person. And that's sometimes possible and sometimes it's not. But certainly it's the most efficient and quickest way to communicate. And sometimes it's worth walking down the hall to have a conversation with somebody. In terms of tools, I use Sketch, I use InVision. When it comes to requirements, I use a bug tracking tool called Jira and a wiki tool called Confluence. And I use Trello a lot for organizing my thoughts, which is like a card type system managing tool. But I think a lot of the times I like to use a whiteboard and I like to use paper, I like to use Post-it notes. So for me, the tool is a means to an end, but there's many. And I think it's worth saying as well, if you change job or you change environment, there's probably going to be different tools that the team uses. So over the course of your career, you're going to be learning lots of tools. That's just part of what it is.
Yeah, everybody has a different system or process, or people are creating their own and writing books about it too, so different variations. So one thing I wanted to make sure we talk about is users, because user experience design is looking at the user. So Olga, when developing an app, what's important about the user for you to look at or consider?
There are a few important aspects for developers to know. One is to know the big picture, the business aspect of it. We don't have to know every single detail of it, but we need to have a vision why we're doing it, why we're implementing this and not something else, because technically we could think that something else would be a better solution, but having a business idea in mind would help us to make sure that we're not proposing or even volunteering something that is not appropriate for a particular case. And second, aspect would be user interviews and user research. At this stage, it's very important to have a developer as a part of conversation. And one of those parts is actual user interviews. So it's very beneficial for everybody and, well, selfishly for the development team to see firsthand how users work with the product, because we are so much into detail, into implementation of specific things, so that we focus too much on technical aspects, forgetting that, well, users may never see it because it's buried so much deep inside of our product. And seeing people interact with the product and voicing their thoughts helps us a lot to understand how the interaction with the product happens for the users.
Yeah, I think, Patrick, you'd probably agree with that. You're big into doing your homework and doing user interviews.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things in what Olga said that we could kind of unpack. I think one of them, which I totally agree with, is that you want to share with the whole team what the customer outcome is, what the end goal is, what their motivation is. We don't want to talk to the developers and the tech team and say, build 2 features. We want to say, look, the customer or the user is trying to improve in some way or get a job done or solve a certain problem. And that kind of information has to be shared and has to be understood as a team. When it comes to customer research or customer discovery, yeah, I mean, there's parts of it that the product manager will do, such as interviewing customers, such as analyzing the competition, such as kind of planning the business model and generating business models. And, there's a lot of different types of teams working on a lot of different types of products. Some are very small teams, some are very big teams. So it doesn't really matter whether the product manager does certain tasks or the UX researcher does, or even if a developer does or a product marketing manager does. When you're in the team, I would urge you to try to make sure that as a team you get the necessary work done. And I've worked in teams where UX researchers have done a lot of the product research, and I've worked in teams where I myself have done a lot of the product research. And when you're in a team, working on it together can often give the best results.
Yeah, I totally agree. And more people are getting creative. You can take images or screenshots, but now you can do a screencast and document the work. And once a developer actually sees what the user is doing, the changes you're trying to implement happen a lot faster. So I agree, it's all about collaboration, working with teams, and every team is different. But thank you both for being here today. And I encourage you all to go out into the world and meet working professionals in UX, in development, in product management, and ask questions, learn about the new trends, and talk about different topics.